Hello everyone, it's Melissa. I'm back and I am starting another project. This is going to be an 8.5 by 11 layout documenting my son and his love for climbing, like most boys, I'm guessing. So starting off by pulling from my product jar, and you can see I have doilies, stitching, sewing, stickers, enamel dots, phrase stickers, 6x6 pads, and embossing folders. And the one item I don't get used are the doilies. I just don't feel like it would work in this page. And so what I showed you there in the beginning was a stamp set from Hero Arts. In fact, it was probably my very first photopolymer acrylic stamp set. And it had a tree element in it. And I ended up stamping it in a chocolate brown, Stampin' Up! Ink, and embossing them with clear embossing powder, and doing it 8 times on some craft paper. Now this is in fact the first time I've ever stamped images on craft paper and colored them with pencils. I know I've seen it done a lot in the card making community, and I've loved it. It usually makes a really big impact and a statement on a card, and so I thought I would try it in this instance. And so I went ahead and did that. I fussy cut them out to the best of my ability. I wasn't getting in every little nook and cranny. So, but what I did there, what I'm doing here now is just fidgeting with the trees. A lot of them are not straight up and down, but the 4 that I do want straight up and down, I'm being mindful of the fact that they need to be perfectly straight. It is in fact a tree, and in my mind, that just wouldn't work. So, yeah, I'll be mindful of that throughout creating this whole page. What I'm using there is some Stormy Sky Tim Holtz Distress Oxide ink, and one of my favorite stencils. It's a mini cloud stencil from MFT, and I'm just going to use my ink blending tool, that stencil, and with a light hand going to go around the top portion of this paper. Now I have pulled a baby blue piece of cardstock for my stash. I'm not exactly sure where it's from because, I mean, I know it's from Stampin' Up!, but what it's called, I have a ton of old and retired paper in my stash, so from Stampin' Up! So this is just a blue one, and I'm just randomly going around the top portion of the page because, you know, significant amount of this page from the top down will be covered, so I won't have to worry about stenciling too much. But I'm just going around randomly placing these cloud edges wherever I want, and again, being very light. You don't need to use a ton of pressure. The variance in ink here to paper is nice, and it's just very subtle, and yeah, I love it. And this is by far one of my favorite stencils. I use it a lot with card making. So yeah, here I am. I'm actually, one of the things that I'm mindful of is it is a tree page, or a page to document tree climbing, and all climbing actually, but I do need a grounding element for those trees. They can't just be floating in the middle of the page like that. So I went ahead and pulled a lighter green paper cardstock from my stash. I'm going to adhere it to the bottom portion of this layout. It's in fact like the third of the bottom, and I'm adding a border die, always is the word, and I glued it. It's from Simon Says Stamp, and I glued it to the bottom of the photograph, the physical photograph. And I do that quite a bit. It doesn't bother me as long as I'm not covering up obviously someone's face to adhere elements to my photo. So I've trimmed off actually all the edges. I actually have a lot of the trees, the side trees coming off the page, you know, that signifies movement. And so I'm going to, I'm using actually a little bit of a frame right here for my stash. And I don't like all the bulk sometimes that frames give in my album, in my scrapbook albums. So almost like 99% of the time, I always remove, you know, a significant amount of the chipboard backing. You still get the look of chipboard, but it's just not so bulky. I've got 2 sheets there. Those are 2 printables from Allie Edwards from her shop. One is kind of summer related, and the other one just has some words. I'm going to, in fact, use that sun on the page, but I decided I'm going to die cut it with one of my circle dies because I just printed it on some, copy paper. And so my punch doesn't always like the flimsiness of copy paper as opposed to cardstock. Okay, so I have the word climbing there, and I actually took that from a sticker sheet. In the beginning I showed you, I'm ticking away at that sticker sheet, and I was pleased that I had all of the letters except for one I. So I went ahead and modified a K and made the K into an I. And yeah, here we go, another word I'm knocking out. I used this alphabet font sticker sheet not too long ago for a page. So I love the chunkiness of it, so it gives a nice big impact. And the other thing I made sure to do on this page, because we're talking about climbing, and it would only, in my mind, I would only be fit to do a title that was, like an up and down, I want to say like a bouncing title, but where I have the variation in like the C and the L and the I and the B. So they're just kind of tucked in there, and that also signifies movement, playfulness, whimsy. That's all what I'm trying to, the messages and the theme I'm trying to convey in this page. So actually, so also here I took a darker piece of green cardstock, and I'm just tearing off the edge, and I kind of felt like I needed a darker like background horizon set in the background on my grass there. So just a grounding element. I just felt like it needed a little bit more to like stabilize and set. This is kind of a scene building. I did a scene building for a snowboarding page at one time, not long ago, and so here I am again. Okay, so I pulled some cloud dies from Paper Tray ink. I apologize that I'm bouncing all over the place. Sorry, I just have a lot going on this page, and so I want to make sure that I talk about it all. But so I end up running those clouds through my one of my embossing folders. Since it was a pull, I wanted to make sure I got embossing folders used, and I like using my polka dot embossing folder quite a bit, so that's what I end up doing. You see there on the page on to the left, I have square dies, and I just cut out from some elements of ephemera in my stash some frames because I liked the inside of those circles. They're like a really light wood grain. I'm trimming off the outside edge of this sticker now from that sticker sheet I showed because the colors and the diagonal stripes on that sticker weren't going to work for this layout, so I had to remove them. And now it worked just fine. So, because it's like an off-white, kind of matches the frames that I'm adhering now. And I like it. I kind of felt like just hanging out, what better way or what better time, more perfect time than to use that sticker. So I knew, I had seen that several times before. Whenever I do a boy page, I'm like, I'm pulling that sticker. The other thing I knew was getting on this page no matter what, besides the sticker, was that tree piece of flair. Now, you're probably thinking I could have used that on a lot of other things, but if you are just new to my channel, one of the things that you won't know about me is that I am very thematic. So I wouldn't just put that tree on any page, like maybe a picnic page or, fun time in the park. But this is actually the perfect time. Yeah, see there, I'm showing you my embossing folder. This is actually the perfect time because he's actually in a tree. I'm trying to talk about climbing, and so I knew no matter what, that was getting on this page as well. Sometimes it's true what they say, that you do a layout, like one of your jumping points is the embellishments in your stash. Like I didn't specifically take this picture because I had some tree ephemera that I wanted to use, but it a lot of times dictates how you go, the direction you go in your page. So I put some foam on the back of that picture. I used scraps of paper from my 6x6 pad because it was a pull. I wanted to make sure I got some of that on there. I also found my son at one time colored some of my wood veneer, and he got his hands on that bird there. And I thought, you know what? It's a little light for me, but I'm going to recolor it with a navy Sharpie. So I, in fact, do that, and I have 3 birds there. I'm just removing their feet because, again, I'm a literal scrapper. It doesn't make sense for me for them to have their feet like that in the clouds. Nor is it really them sitting, but the feet was more of a distraction for me. And so, yeah, I'm just gonna color these and adhere them right onto those clouds, just like they're sitting there enjoying the afternoon. So I will also add a link real quick to another scene building page that I made back to document the winter. And I will add that in the top of the screen here. And also, I would love for you to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, you guys. I would love some more subbies. And I'll also put the links to my Facebook and Instagram in the description box below. I would love for you to head over there, see what I'm doing, keep up to date with my crazy crafty nonsense. So, all right. So what I am doing there is, one of the elements I pulled was sewing, and as long as I get string on a page in some way, shape, or form, to me that's sewing. Some of these product pulls I don't get very literal. I just think, oh gosh, I've used some thread. I've got that element of texture on a page. That's good enough for me. So that's what I do. That's what I'm doing there. It's just some brown thread that I've balled up. I've also got some phrase stickers that I have started adhering to the page, and I am adding some dimension to quite a bit of those trees. I only actually adhered the center pieces because I don't know why my camera moved. I'm sorry, I must have bumped my table, but I'll adjust it here, I know, probably shortly. I wanted my page to have some dimension, so I do add some foam dots to the back of some of those areas. Let's see. One of the things that I also did when I stamped those trees is I also stamped some leaves from the same image and cut those out, fussy cut them out. And so you can see that I've got them scattered around the title and the journaling at the bottom, and I like that. I basically stuck with the same 10 pencils, and so it wasn't too complicated because it was a little time consuming, but you know, just like anyone else, like I don't sew on my pages hardly ever, so I feel like a little coloring that goes into it, or you know, the people that sew or the people that do, you know, mixed media and stuff, sometimes a little work makes a huge impact. I like that. And so I'm winding down here, just adding a few more phrase stickers because they were pulls from my jar. I didn't want to forget them. And one enamel dot, you guys, right in the middle of that sun piece of ephemera. And that's going to wrap it up. I am going to show you some close-ups here. Take note of the texture in the clouds. It's so, I love it. I use my tiny attacher on the just hanging out piece of sticker on the top. You can see the dimension that those trees have on this page, and I really just used 2 scraps of paper on the behind the photo just for some more color. And that is it. I'll have some close-up shots, some still shots at the end. And again, thanks for taking time out of your day to watch this layout process, and subscribe to my channel. I would love to have you. And yeah, thank you, and I will be back soon. Bye, guys.